to my video, Deadpool and Wolverine spoiler-free review, and later in the video, thoughts. This movie is a hard R, so will this video be. I absolutely loved this movie. Before I get to the thoughts, I will be spoiling basically everything MCU and Fox X-Men leading up to, but not including this movie. I will warn before I get into the spoilers for this movie, verbally, and gonna put up the spoiler tag at the top of the screen. This movie came out not very long after my birthday. It could be read as a belated birthday present, in which case it was very well worth the wait. Gonna try not to repeat what I've read some stuff, I've heard some stuff, so I'm just gonna recommend you personally instead go directly to the source. Do not pass go. Apply directly to the forehead. Read the IMDb trivia. You could also read the FAQ. I won't tell you not to. Make sure to watch, unless you absolutely can't stand Movie Bob. I think he did a good job. He did not like the movie quite as much as me, but I'm not sure that I could necessarily... He says some things that are very true about this movie. It didn't bother me as much as it evidently did him, but for sure, I can't really deny. There's also the... excellent fellow YouTuber Nando V Movies. I do like a lot of what Movie Bob does, to be clear. And I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Cosmo Variety Hour also did a good job, and they discuss some elements, but they don't go into spoilers. Or at least all three of them have at least one spoiler-free video. Just make sure it's, so you can watch it before. Watch those three videos before actually watching the movie. Same thing for, IMDb trivia. If you don't click this to reveal the spoiler tag stuff, you're not gonna have anything spoiled. If you haven't already watched the trailers, personally, I would say either not to, or to try to not think too much about stuff you haven't seen yet while watching the movie, because it does have some stuff from fairly late. It's a recent movie trailer. That's how they are these days, at least for these kinds of movies. If you have already watched them, I'm not asking you to invent a time machine and go back and not watch them. That's very time-consuming. You have a life, I'm sure. But rest assured, there's a lot of stuff that, in this movie that is absolutely not even implied in the trailers, much less implode. I think that, let's get into it. Let's fucking go. Deadpool and Wolverine, formerly simply known as Deadpool 3, and then retitled in a movie that basically screams, please, please, please come see our movie. We promise you'll like this one, even though The Marvels and Echo were not as well received as we hoped. Seriously, though, those two got way more hate than was at all reasonable. This movie has a lot of fan service. Personally, I don't think it's too much, but I definitely would argue that it is, because this is the first R-rated movie set in the MCU, and Disney are very anxious about losing money on it, so they're hoping the fan service will make up the difference. I think they're right. That was also, just real quick, I swear I'm not going to spend forever just arguing with the IMDb frequently asked questions section. But I did see one say, Disney doesn't really take risks with the MCU. I'll grant there's, it is definitely in part a Hail Mary pass, but I'd say making an entire R-rated movie is kind of a risk. They've been taking baby steps, they've been building up to this, but this is still, this isn't nothing. This is a pretty significant risk, and I do think it'll pay off. But let's not pretend I agree. That they don't take enough risks. I wish they took more risks. But in recent years, they have been taking risks. They've been building... They've been getting into more and more, really non-Disney type stuff, some extremely dark and brutal stuff that, like, more so than classic Disney animated movie. You know, sometimes we forget, if it's been a while since you watched one of those, like, some of those, fuck, they get dark. Now, yes, real quick. Worst to best, keeping in mind I love all of them. They're all amazing. I'm ranking how much I love them, not whether or not I love them all. Iron Man 2, Dark World, Black Widow, Captain America 1, Thor 1, Ragnarok, Hulk, Ant-Man 1, Ant-Man 2, The Marvels, Thunder, Homecoming, Doctor Strange 1, Iron Man 3, Iron Man 1, The Avengers 1, Ultron, Ant-Man 3, Madness, Far From Home, No Way Home, Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, Guardians 1, Guardians 2, Black Panther 1, Winter Soldier, Werewolf, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Guardians 3, Wakanda Forever, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. And at the end of the review itself, I will update with where I rank this movie in that. And the X-Men movies, worst to best. Origins, X3, Apocalypse, Dark Phoenix, New Mutants, The Wolverine, First Class, Deadpool 1, X1, X2, Days of Future Past, Logan, and Deadpool 2. And let's see. Yes, so yeah, we knew from some of the marketing, you know, this movie is somewhat different from the first two Deadpool movies. One of the only problems I have with the second one, so, you know, as I just mentioned, it is my favorite X-Men related, you know, Fox X-Men movie. One of the few problems I have with the second Deadpool movie is how similar it is to the first one. That's in general a problem with a bunch of recent comic book movie adaptations. You know, in the MCU, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp also being way too similar to the first one because they're trying to catch lightning in a bottle twice. I would definitely say this one gets a much better balance. Like, there are definitely callbacks to the first two Deadpool movies, among others. You know, if you would say that this movie has too many callbacks to MCU and Fox X-Men, I am not going to necessarily disagree. I think they handle them really well, but whether or not there's too many of them, Sid, that is 100% subjective. I don't blame anyone for, you know, I'm pretty sure there's people out there who think that there are too many. I think it's just right. I think it gets very close, but not too much. And definitely, it does not get lost in just a bunch of references to the first two Deadpool movies, and not really, like, I love Deadpool 2, but my fucking Christ, there's just so many jokes that are references to the first movie, and it's like you can practically feel the Fox executive, like, you know, pacing back and forth right behind you in the theater seat, whispering, "Is this okay? Is this what you want? We don't fucking know why you love the first one so much. We didn't think it would make any money. Why do you think we kept cutting the budget and delaying it? And just please come see our movie, please." You know, and it got exhausting, and I'm really glad that this one doesn't have that. Again, I 100% appreciate some people are going to feel it has that for the entire MCU, for all the Fox X-Men movies, and for sure, yeah, that's definitely going to hamper some people's enjoyment of it, and that really sucks for them. I wish that, you know, I could snap my fingers and make that not so. Now, let's see. Yeah, so, yeah, one of the big fears, you know, once the MCU got their hands on Deadpool was, you know, they were going to insist that he should be PG-13. Well, a lot of the best stuff about the first two Deadpool movies were specifically R-rated jokes. And they did try Once Upon a Deadpool for the PG-13, which I hear mixed things about. I haven't watched it. I wouldn't mind. I just don't have access to it right now. You know, it didn't perform as well as Disney had hoped. That's why we now have this R-rated one. And, you know, even the first trailer makes it clear this is a proper R-rated Deadpool movie. It's not just an MCU movie starring Deadpool, which, I'm not gonna lie, yes, I 100% was, like, thinking, please don't fuck up Deadpool. Like, this is... Deadpool and Wolverine together in a movie is something I've wanted for 20 years. I have wanted this for more than half of my life. You know, before Deadpool started appearing in movies, you know, from comics and, really heavily because of his amazing fucking appearance in X-Men Legends 2, which I know if you have, yeah, I don't even know if anybody talks about that game anymore, but I love it. Yeah. The moment that I played that game, I was like, they absolutely have to find a way to put these two in a movie. And then I watched X-Men Origins Wolverine, and I was like, me and my big fucking mouth. And then, all these years later, finally, we got there. Let's see, right, I wanted to just briefly say another thing that obviously, there's a couple of other concerns I wanted to briefly address. No, this does not undo the pitch perfect fucking ending of Logan. Not in the slightest. It does not. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the exact details before I get into thoughts, but rest assured, I guarantee you, this is not saying that that ending did not. Yeah. That ending is indeed final. And I appreciate that for some people that's not going to be enough, and I 100%, like, if that is the thing, I don't think there's anything in this movie that's going to change your mind if you are just adamantly against having Wolverine in a movie after Logan without it being, like, a completely different, like, I guess if they had rebooted and it was, and again, I think you're missing out. There's so much to love in this movie, but I 100% respect that. Now, let's see. Yes, Hugh Jackman definitely wants to be there, making this movie. He is, like, there is not a single fraction of a second in this movie where it felt like Hugh Jackman was, like, going over, mentally going over his shopping, grocery shopping list. Or being like, I can't fucking believe I said yes to this. What have I done? No, not a single second. This might be the best performance. Fuck, I think I did hear someone say, okay, finishing the thought. I think this might be the best performance he's given as Wolverine. And one of the best performances of his career in general. Up there with Prisoners and The Prestige. Just amazing. Like, I'm so glad. I'm always thrilled when he gets to act. Because some movies, it's just like, well, I mean, it's Hugh Jackman. What the fuck do you want? You want us to actually do something? I wanted to love Van Helsing so fucking bad. And I don't think that it's Hugh Jackman who's, like, phoning it in. It's the material that's just, it makes it impossible for him. Let's see. Yeah, the movie is somewhat more about Wolverine than Deadpool. I don't think that Deadpool at all gets lost. I'm so glad. I cannot overstate my joy that the mutants are back with Marvel where they should always have been. I get why they needed to sell a bunch of characters off to studios like Fox. I'm so glad that they got them back. Like, I wish that there was more competition. I'm not saying the MCU is flawless, but my God, the MCU just knows how to handle these fucking characters. They know how to actually get something out. Like, this is better than almost every Fox X-Men movie. Yeah, I'm gonna update the ranking when I get to the end of the spoiler-free review, but yeah, I'm telling you right now, it's better than most of them. Just gonna real quick put it so that I don't forget. So it is. Oh right, all right. Yeah, never mind. There we go. Yes. Yeah, not a single character gets lost here. I don't know exactly how it is that Disney manages this, but I would argue they manage it every single time. Every single MCU movie and show, no character gets truly lost. There's always some really strong character moments where you get a sense of who the character is. Just, finally we have an X-Men movie that isn't the New Mutants, which suck for other reasons, and I hate saying that about an Anya Taylor-Joy movie, where no mutant just gets lost in the background. Like, all of them get something. Like, before the movie was over, I was like, is that character gonna get to, because they haven't really gotten, and then, like, minutes later, they got something. Just, all of them, there's something amazing. Yeah, this is some of the best action in Deadpool. Overall, I do think some of the action in Deadpool 2 is superior to at least some of the action here. Let's see. Yeah, this feels, much like Deadpool 2, this feels like they had the money to do what they wanted to do. I respect Deadpool 1. I do appreciate they definitely did get some stuff in there where it's like, you know, okay, you know, if you can't get access to all the resources you want, you got to get creative. They got fucking creative. They got some great stuff in there, but at the end of the day, these big tentpole movies, yeah, you kind of want spectacle up there, you know. And I maintain that the first one, I really think that movie would have been stronger if there had been at least slightly more spectacle. It works when it's going for emotion. Actually, you know what? Maybe that is it. Maybe it should have gone more for emotion in some of the scenes where instead it goes for spectacle, because they didn't quite have enough money for the spectacle. Because when it goes for emotion, like, I've watched that movie several times now, and each time it really gets, like, the fucking torture and you know, the heartache, and it just, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, it's really well shot. It did not lose any of its edge. Like, Disney did not force them to just be like, yeah, it has the offensive jokes that, you know, I think I heard some people say, you know, they were worried, you know, is Disney really going to do, you know, jokes about wokeness? There's jokes about wokeness. Some of them are making fun of wokeness. Some of them are making fun of the anti-woke crowd, you know. Yeah, they absolutely nailed the, yeah. Love seeing more of Wolverine fighting dirty, as, like, this was the, yeah. This was the first time that I felt like, okay, they actually took comic book Wolverine and put him on the screen. I'm not just talking about the costume. That's part of it, sure. But no, they really nailed it. I'm not blaming Logan for not doing that, because they were doing a different thing, obviously. But we had, like, what, 16 years where Hugh Jackman played Wolverine, and they never let him just properly cut loose. Like, there were a couple of times where they got close, but the PG-13 rating always hampered it. Like, I honestly, I don't think, I have read a lot of comics that feature Wolverine. Some of them solo, some of them X-Men and such. I don't think I've ever read a comic featuring Wolverine that was actually bloodless, and so many of the movies have been, and toned down, make, like, okay, yeah, he's like an animal, but, you know, he's got a heart of gold, and in this, some of the time you get to see, no, this is fucking Wolverine. He's, you know, he can be just the most brutal motherfucker, you know, he's the best that there is at what he does. What he does is not fucking nice. So let's just put that to bed. Let's stop pretending like Wolverine is some sort of, like, you know, teen friendly, you know, just, no, that this is, yeah. His main weapon is his claws. You know, he draws blood, his own and others, constantly. So really, really glad. So, you know, Logan got that right as well. But yeah, let's see. I think that might be about right. Yeah. So a pretty big one. Yes, I do think this could hypothetically be the very first time that you watch an MCU movie and or X-Men film. Hold. I know what you're gonna say. Stop typing the comment. Yes, there's definitely some stuff that you're going to have to infer or wait a little while before you get the answer. You're definitely going to want to, like, be 100% alert if this is the very first time, MCU or X-Men. But hypothetically, you could. It's not quite as newcomer friendly as most of the MCU, But yeah, it does the MCU thing of, like, a character will pop up and someone that we already know at least a little bit about will be like, oh, that's that person who has this relationship and this and that past, and I'm sure it's going to bug some people, and I 100% get, I mean, it's there in comic books as well, what can I say? Comic books get really complicated once you get a certain bit of the way into it. And yeah, this reflects that very nicely. There are a bunch of things in here that, yeah, like, honestly, I wouldn't mind if, like, once this hits Disney Plus, once you can stream, yeah, I don't think you can stream it yet. Anyway, I think of a cut that's like, yes, I have seen the movies leading up to it, that omits the stuff that is just bringing people back up to speed. Maybe even omits stuff that isn't completely crucial to know. But yeah, even so, like, I don't blame Deadpool 2 for not... I get why they didn't go super into detail about Cable. If you want to know Cable's deal, X-Men 97 Season 1 did a fantastic job of explaining it and getting the emotion out of, I get why they didn't in Deadpool 2. But it still bugs me because he's such a fascinating character, and the Fox X-Men movies were always doing this. They would put someone super cool in front of you and just be like, well, you don't need to know this character at all, which really robs a lot of the emotional impact. Like, with Cable, they gave just enough that you got a good chunk of emotional impact, but I do not think it was enough. And yeah, here they absolutely do. Let's see. I think that might be... Yeah. Let's see. What have I not already talked... Music. The score is... Score and original soundtrack. Amazing. Like, there's such great use of music here, as in the first two Deadpool movies. We get a new, really epic opening credits scene. Pretty much no matter where your line goes, this is going to cross it, very purposefully so. I was not let down by any actor. Like, there were a couple of times where someone was recast, but that's not really the new actor's fault, The returning ones do phenomenal, and the new ones, they do what they can, Right. There is a mid-credits scene. There's mid-credits stuff and a post-credits thing. If you are sitting in your seat and being like, I just gotta get out of here, for whatever reason, you're gonna be okay if you miss them. They're not crucial. The way that, some other MCU, if you miss the post-credit scene, it's like, fuck. Yeah, I think that covers all that I feel like there's one more thing that I wanted to... maybe if I think of it over the course of the... Oh, fuck. It's right here. Yes. So director Sean Levy is a veteran. He's primarily known for comedy movies, which, the comedy is one of the most important aspects here. The emotional aspect also really works. I don't know for sure if at least some of the action was maybe like second unit or something, which I really don't think there's any shame in. I don't know why some people get really upset that some of the action on some of these comic book productions is handled by second unit. so that the emotional stuff can be handled by directors who focus mainly on emotional stuff. I wasn't really let down by either set of, yeah. The director has worked with Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds before, and yeah, you know, they're both amazing in it. You know, it remains Ryan Reynolds, you either love him or hate him, and this movie is absolutely not going to change that. And I think that might be... let's see. Right, yes. Yeah, one thing that I was a little bit worried about was that this movie might be a little bit of a mess. Like some other sequels recently in the MCU. Like, I do love Multiverse of Madness and No Way Home, but they do struggle with trying to fit in all the stuff that they want to do, both being sequels to massively popular movies, following up on subplots, including important characters, featuring callbacks, etc., furthering the overall multiverse thing, and working with characters that Disney really wants in there. And yeah, to some extent, this movie does have some of those same problems. I wasn't as bothered by it. You know, yeah, it is... It would be great if we could get a version of this movie. Yeah, several different versions of this movie. One where it was just another Deadpool movie, you know, Deadpool 3, featuring just, you know, yeah, the characters set up in those first two movies. One that is, you know, Deadpool joins the MCU, you know, yeah. But I do think they did a really great job in this one, tying it all in as like... Yeah, I think this one does the best job. You know, I already mentioned I'm spoiling. You know, Multiverse of Madness. I'm afraid I forget his name, but there was that other doctor that in the first movie Steven feuds with, and like for sure his line about was there really only one option, or did you just need to have your hand on the knife? And you know, yeah, absolutely love that. But yeah, he did not get as much as, you know, it really seemed like the first one was building up towards them, and they do really cool stuff with him in the comics. I've read. A bigger issue with that movie, as far as returning characters, is the Mordo. You know, yeah, they really didn't know what to do with him. Which, yeah, because when you watch Doctor Strange 1, it really seems like, oh, Mordo's going to be the big bad in the next one, and apparently originally he was going to, but then, you know, it took several years to get to it, and by then they really wanted for Doctor Strange and the Scarlet Witch to share a movie. And that's, you know, it also has to be a sequel to WandaVision, which, you know, one of my favorite MCU properties is WandaVision. Yeah, it just ends up being kind of a mess. And No Way Home, like, there's a version of No Way Home that is all about what happens when everyone knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Because they do such, like... One of the things that comes from that in the comics is complete bullshit, and we all hate it, and we don't need to go into it. But it is an overall really cool concept, and, you know, they do fix what the wrong thing about it in the comics in the movie. But yeah, it ends up taking a backseat to, you know, let's get the other Spider-Man in here, which, again, I love that we finally got that. But it is, like, God, I fucking wish that it had just been Tom Holland Spider-Man 4 instead of 3, so that we had gotten a proper, you know. But yeah, I would definitely say this one does the best. And part of it is that they really do a fantastic job actually making it... Like, the multiverse stuff is key to the plot of this movie. It's not just, you know, oh, well, we gotta... You know, we're doing multiverse, I guess. No, And it's set up really early on, too. You know, you're not that far into this movie when they explain how the multiverse ties into this, and yeah. Let's see. Yeah, this being Deadpool's first MCU. Yes, Deadpool's first proper MCU movie. You know, apparently, if I understand correctly, if I recall what I read correctly, Once Upon a Deadpool was basically a re-edit of Deadpool 2 with some new footage, but not. They didn't make an entire new movie there. Yeah, and part of that is they're constantly commenting on, you know, there's a lot of Disney, a lot of jokes about Disney, a lot of R-rated jokes about Disney, and yeah, they're pointing out tropes and commenting on it. So it, like, this really does feel like this is what you get when Deadpool exists within the MCU. The same way that, you know, the first two movies have a lot of fun with, you know, oh, Deadpool is part of the Fox X-Men universe. That's pretty fucking weird, huh? You know, look at all this stuff that would be the, you know, listen to the way he talks to X-Men. Look at all the jokes he makes about Charles Xavier, you know, stuff like that. And yeah, here you have that, but with MCU. And yeah, it does not feel like there was any studio notes that said you cannot make jokes about, like, some of the classic Disney properties that are used as part of jokes. Like, I'm sure there is a non-zero number of Disney executives who are like, how did we fucking allow this? But it works, you know, it'll pay off, because, you know, ultimately we know that they care more about profit than, you know, like the live action remakes. And I'm not talking about the fact that they're more progressive, but some of these live action remakes, I haven't watched all of them, but I hear most of them are, yeah. It's like, you don't need to do this. What are you doing? You know, I will say I found some stuff to love in the, I want to say it's Jungle Book, you know, Jon Favreau Jungle Book. I thought there was some really great stuff there. I think yeah, the rest of them, not really the biggest fan. Yeah, let's see. Okay, this is going to be really confusing if I don't explain the reason why I didn't watch all of them. Yes, so I decided to you know, have Disney Plus. I might as well watch it all the time. I decided to rewatch the Disney animated classics, and each time I watch one that has a live action remake, I watch the live action remake. So yeah, I think Jungle Book was the most recent that I watched the live action. Or I did also watch Cruella, which I'll grant there's some interesting things in there, but there's some strange decisions there. It's not really a movie that needs to exist. I do appreciate that, given that it exists, it has a lot more like production quality than you might think. It doesn't feel like certainly some of the people who worked on it had a vision. I don't know if that vision, you know, it doesn't really work as like a prequel, if it even is supposed to be a proper prequel to 101 Dalmatians, you know. But yeah, there's some great. Please do not ask me to hate a movie that pits Emma Stone versus, oh my fucking god, no, this will not stand. Emma Thompson, right? Emma Thompson. I'm gonna double check because there's no way. Yes, Emma Thompson. Like, they're just, you know, that bit with like, yeah, that's actually why I'm here. Can you keep up, or am I gonna have to explain everything? That was just chef's kiss, perfect. Just fucking loved it. Oh my god, I just realized. Yeah. How did I not? This will not stand. I did not mention Emma Corrin's work on this movie yet. They are amazing. I've been looking forward to this ever since I watched Murder at the End of the World. I gotta see them in more stuff, because oh my god. And that was another, like, I knew that they would do well, but I was still like, they jump in 100%. Like, there is no holding back. There is no fraction of a second where it feels like Emma is like, I don't know, does this make me look silly? Is this gonna, are people gonna completely connect with it? No, like, just they dive in with absolutely no holding back. And we do get a line. I was hoping for more than a line, but we do get a line about how compared to some of the other characters, the character that Emma plays comes across as a little bit of a pixie, you know. I would have loved if the character was jumping around like Kess in that one episode of Voyager, who also very much had a pixie quality to, you know. But yeah, the character was great. Really, really loved the performance. I gotta see them in more stuff. Yeah, I hear their Diana is just like unbelievably spot on, like just incredible, you know. And yeah, as I theorized when, I believe I did, when, you know, going over Murder at the End of the World, yeah, the performance is completely different. Like, you know, you can look at their face and be like, well, it's definitely the same actor, you know. No, clearly, you know, but the performances are worlds apart. It's just completely, yeah. Let's see. I think that is what I have that isn't spoilery. So, yeah. You know what? It's just, I'm gonna double check what, yeah. Yeah, this might sound ridiculous, but honestly, this is, I rate this 10 Dream Team-Ups out of 10. I'm not saying it's 100% perfect. This is one of those times where me giving a perfect rating to something does not mean that I think it has zero flaws. It means that the strengths so greatly outweigh the flaws. You know, like, do I want every single MCU movie to be like this? No. I hope that they take this as a one-off win and, you know, yeah, not try to do this over and over. But then I don't know that I really felt like they... I already mentioned, you know, I wish they took more risks, but I don't really feel like they've just been repeating the exact same movie or show over and over past the point of when it worked. Now, I'm gonna real quick, yeah. Yes, so I'm not gonna read every single, because there's like fucking 30 by now, but as far as MCU stuff, you know, I rate this higher than Werewolf, and the only ones above it are Shang-Chi, Eternals, Guardians 3, Wakanda Forever, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. I'm not sure. It's going to be an extremely long time for anything tops Endgame. And, yeah, as far as the X-Men ones, yeah, over Days of Future Past, the only ones over this one, in my opinion, are Logan and Deadpool 2. And that does bring us into the spoiler section. So I'm just going to real quick note. So we are, let's see, 38 minutes into... I should have readied this before I... Okay. Oh, fuck. Did I not ready it at all? Nope, I did not. Okay, just gonna real quick... Yeah, here we go. So, it's 38, let's go with there. Yes, so, yeah, before I get into the notes that I took while watching, I'm just gonna really quickly note, yeah, this trilogy is truly and utterly incapable of coming up with something interesting to do with Vanessa. The actress deserves better. So does the character. It's, you know, the first two, all she ever gets to do is lose the one-upsmanship with who has the worst life, who can make the most pop culture references with Deadpool, and motivate his man pain. Yeah, this one doesn't really fare better as a just, yeah. At least in this one, they have the decency to not show her a million times over the course of the movie like they do. I guess it's especially in the second one. Yeah, just over and over, and just she's there to represent that Deadpool really wants to get to her and can't. Like, for all the agency she has, and some of it is robbed not only by the screenwriters, but also by Wade himself. For all the agency he has, she might as well be like a toy or something. She gets kidnapped, and so the bad guys can hurt Wade, and she dies, and then Wade really wants to get to her, even if it means him dying. Just, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so a couple of other things. Right, yeah, I was wondering if, since Elektra shows up, if they were going to make at least one joke about how in her solo movie, literally every time she kills someone who has powers, it's a massive anticlimax. Most of the time, it's not even a proper fight between her and the other character. Only with Kirigi is that the case. Honestly, rewatching it for this, I had forgotten it's really not that bad of a movie. There's lots of good stuff about it. I probably went too hard on it in my old video reviews on that movie. I think it was also just, watching it at the time, it was like, really, is this the best we're going to get? And, now it's like, oh, look how far we've come. Look at all the amazing stuff we've got. Ultimately, there wasn't a joke like that. And I do think they could have fit it in. I guess it's possible it's on the cutting room floor. Just have her go up against a mutant and, like, be stabbing someone and be like, this usually works so much better in my movie. Something like that. Let's see. Right, so yeah, I noted that I hoped this movie would have an action scene on a moving vehicle like the second one and sort of the first one. Not saying it's a guarantee, but I do think that a lot of the best recent action movies, now that it's possible, have at least one action scene that is set on a moving vehicle, and I guess it does not really do that, but honestly, I wasn't really missing it. Honestly, watching it, I had completely forgotten that this was something I wrote before watching. Let's see. Right. I gotta say, Sabretooth with a beard, a little bit too Robert Zombie, Michael Myers for my taste, but yeah, overall was not really bothered by it. Let's see. Yeah, so there's notes for this movie on every paper in this pad. And let's see. And on the second pad that I bring just in case, doesn't top Endgame, but then this movie's like an hour shorter than Endgame. So yeah, for those who might not remember, in that one I filled out literally every single piece of paper on both pads and started writing on the cardboard just to make everything fit. Yeah, so like the first two, we open with the voiceover intro, and yeah, I really appreciate that they do face head on, because one of the really big things, the moment that people heard about this, we were all like, are you really gonna undo the amazing ending of Logan? Are you actually going to bring him back to life? And I really appreciate that for several seconds it looks like, yeah, they will. And you're sitting there in the seat going, oh, fuck you. You better deliver an amazing movie after doing this. What the fuck? There were interviews where people in the know said, no, don't worry about it, And then we see, no, this Logan is dead, like, Deadpool says, I'm sure he's not living his best life, but regeneration, yeah, he's gonna, and then, he's like, fuck. And then we see him, pose with the skeleton, and it's like, yeah, I mean, in Logan, like, they specifically say, no, this is it, he's dying, there's the adamantium poisoning, and then he gets stabbed, the whole, yeah, like Deadpool 2, it opens by kind of pissing all over Logan's death at the end of Logan, but doing it in such a funny way that there's like, you're going, oh, fuck you, but you're doing it with a smile. It's like, fuck you. And yeah, it wouldn't be Deadpool if that wasn't what we were getting. You know, I'm sure there's some people who feel that it's just wrong, and I 100% respect that. But this is Deadpool. This is exactly what, you know. And yeah, once you see him as a skeleton, you know, you think back and it's like, oh right, they didn't say Deadpool definitely won't go and unbury Logan. They said the Wolverine in this movie is not the one from Logan. And that is technically correct, the very best kind of correct. Yeah, you know, and I do really appreciate when it must have been after Logan came out, you know, years and years ago. You know, it's wild to think Deadpool 2 was 6 years ago and Logan was 7. But yeah, back then someone did like a fan short where Deadpool walks up to the iconic X marks the spot burial ground for Logan from the end of Logan, funnily enough. And, you know, he's got, like, I want to say syringes of I don't know why I'm showing, I don't actually have anything in my fucking hand. Yeah, you know, the syringe of, like, healing juice that we also say, you know, you took all the medicine, you know, that thing. And, you know, he starts to unbury, you know, with a shovel. So yeah, they literally did that only to say, no, that's not gonna work, you know. And yeah, he literally sits there with the skeleton and like talking with, you know, moving the, you know, and this is yet another one of those cases of it's not necessarily that was a bad idea, it's just that you didn't do it right. I was quite against, and still am, but in my video on Thor Ragnarok, I talk about how, you know, he sits there talking to a skeleton, and I didn't think it really worked. Yeah, this does basically the same thing, but this is the right way to do it because the character, it feels right for the character. Like, the Thor of the first two movies would not, and you know, first two solo movies, first two Avengers movies, would not have sat there chatting with a skeleton like that, you know. And the movie doesn't really explain why, because this is supposed to be not that long after Age of Ultron, you know. Yeah, and here, like, yeah, 100%. I don't doubt for a second that if the Deadpool of the first two movies, and of quite a few of the comics and such, tried to dig up Wolverine for a team-up, and then found this skeleton, that he would sit there, you know, talking, especially if it was his world at stake. Let's see. And, yeah. The TVA show up. By the way, can we... Do all people caught by the TVA, I guess it's just the ones with plot armor, get offered like, no, we can use you, because like both Deadpool and Loki were, you know, is like, I mean, we're gonna, no, you really fucked up, you did terrible things, you know, terrible things that are you know, you're gonna have to pay. And then, you know, in comes the rogue renegade TVA agent and says, we can use this guy. But yeah, the TVA show up, and Deadpool, when fighting them, you know, it's set to NSYNC, and I will admit, it has been, you know, literal decades, like, I don't know, 30 years since I watched that music video. I mean, I didn't. But I think those dance moves that Deadpool pulls, and so I think those are pretty close approximations of how they danced in that music video that I never saw. And anybody who tells you different knows me way too well, and it's very uncomfortable. Yeah, it's just, yeah, phenomenal. And that is also just like, did you think that Deadpool would be fighting to fucking NSYNC? You know, some of the least cool music ever. You know, you like, you would think, oh, it's going to be like hard rock, it's going to be really cool. No, it's this goofy song. And it keeps reminding you, because it keeps cutting to him dancing and doing these, just, yeah. But yeah, let's see, what does that say? Oh, right, yeah. Yes, they ask him to put down his weapons, and he says he won't, or hand over your weapons. I won't do that, but I will promise to fight without them. And then he says, there's 206, bones in the human body, or 207 when I watch, what was it, Gossip Girl, I think he said, which, yeah, I know just enough about that show. Oh, wait, is that was Blake Lively on that show? I guess that's probably what he's referencing, but otherwise it is this thing of Wade, you are 30 or 40, yeah, probably by this point, 40 or something. Why are you watching the show that's I'm not sure that there was actually a lot of teenagers on the cast, but they're playing teenagers, I'm pretty sure. That is something I have never watched Gossip Girl. I'm not denigrating it. No. I've watched other teen stuff. Anyway, when I was a teenager. Let's see. If I watched anything recent, it's just because it's part of a franchise that I'm, really into. But yeah, him fighting with the body. You've heard about beating a dead horse. This is the first time I've seen someone beating others with a corpse. And again, it's so wonderfully disrespectful. It doesn't undo the sacrifice of Logan, but again, it is kind of joyfully just pissing all over. No, don't worry. This is because again, that's what they said in the interviews. We're not bringing Logan back to life. We're just gonna split his body into 206 individual pieces, and Deadpool is gonna use every single one of them to fuck people up. And we again get the opening credits with the really violent action, and let's see. Great when he puts the claws from the adamantium skeleton on his own hands, and just never mind, the jumping ahead here. Yeah, and we get flashback, jump back to Retail. I forget if they did that in the second one, but they definitely did in the first, when he's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna tell you how I ended up on the overpass. And we get Deadpool wanted to join the Avengers, and Happy Hogan said no. And yeah, it's such a wonderfully awkward scene, and it's I really appreciate. I don't blame Jon Favreau for being upset at how they fucked over Iron Man 2. He had a vision for that, and they ruined it. I don't blame him for saying, I'm not directing more MCU. I'm glad that they do still have a relationship. I do think some of what he's directed that isn't called Lion King for Disney has been great. I haven't watched the Lion King remake yet, but I watched the YMS video, which, my God, that truly does look terrible. I don't know for sure if it is terrible, but for now, I'll just say it looks terrible. It sounds terrible. It appears terrible. But yeah, I think he's done great work on Mandalorian, for example. But yeah, I'm really glad that he keeps appearing as Happy. He's played Happy several times since Robert Downey Jr. left. I don't think I want to talk about the recent news about Robert Downey Jr. I am withholding my judgment on it for now. The Ponderer did a fantastic video talking about it. I will just direct you to his, in general, he makes excellent content. I really don't have anything to say about it that he didn't. Let's see, but Favreau keeps reappearing as Happy Hogan, and it's great because this is one of those things where sometimes you just gotta put two characters together that haven't been together before and just let it play out, because Deadpool especially if, you know, his fragile male ego, you know, nothing more frail in the multiverse than the male ego. And yes, I do include myself in that. You know, wet tissue paper. Like, it takes nothing. You know, Smurf kick and it falls into 1,000 pieces. Just, you know, and we've seen, you know, we've seen him have a frail ego in the first 2 movies as well. You know, but yeah, you know, he's upset. So he confronts Happy with these things. You know, he points out he says the things to Happy that we've all been thinking. That, you know, it's one of those things where, like, only someone like Deadpool is enough of an asshole to say it directly to the guy's face. And, you know, Happy isn't being super mean to Wade in this season. But yeah, that was really, really great. You know, yeah, it's like, you know, I'll have you know, I'm for head of security. And also the thing, you know, oh, he doesn't handle these, what, cameos? That was a great little, yeah. But yeah, I really appreciate, you know, he's like, you know, it's great that you want to be hero. I think you're aiming a little too high. What was it he said? Aim for the middle and you'll always hit it, or something like that, which, yeah, that is a very, it feels in character with something Happy Hogan would say, but it's also a very Deadpool movie line, you know, not necessarily Deadpool the character exclusively, but yeah, it's like, you know, don't aim high. Aim medium and you'll be just fine. It's not low. I'm not telling you to aim low. And let's see. Yeah, and Wade is now a car salesman, and he's struggling because he can't stop saying super inappropriate things in front of kids. And yeah, and they do a great job. I don't think the scene would have worked as well if the mom was like, don't fucking swear in front of my kids, you asshole. Oh, you know, but instead she just says, you know, you could have answered that question without any profanity. You know, it's a very, like, parent trying to keep their kid from being exposed to stuff that you know. Yeah, it's very that, and it's so much funnier to have Wade be saying these. You know, he said, "I don't have kids. I haven't had vaginal sex in a while." It's such a fucked up thing to say in front of a kid. Let's see. Yeah, and he's working with Peter, which, again, like, you don't even have to, I don't think they even have a line about, like, you know, where Wade is like, Pete, I'm grateful you got me this job or something, but, you know, I mean, even beyond the fact that they work there together, no, like, I would be shocked if this wasn't that, like, you know, Peter has this stable job and Wade, you know, yeah, it was probably Peter, like, talking to Wade. You know, they hang out every so often, and he's, like, trying to get Deadpool to, you know, Deadpool out, let's do the X-Force thing, like, you know, he's like, I already did the thing, I'm ready for the parachute, come on, X-Force, you know, I don't care that it's derivative, you know, and yeah, you know, like, he's like, you know, buddy, you know, hand on the shoulder, I can see you're going through some stuff, and you know what I think would help, if you had a steady job, you would feel so much better. You know, he's such a good guy. We love Peter. I will have no anti-Peter sentiment on my channel. Just no. You know, I don't think I wrote it down, so I'm just gonna say it here. Loved when Deadpool was like, "Have fun with my Peter." Fuck me. I mean, that's got to be why they named him that, right? They were waiting for the right time to drop that exact kind of joke. Yeah. And I can't help but wonder if Nice Peter, you know, and Epic Lloyd will do some version of it. I mean, they did already. They've had both Deadpool and Wolverine just in separate epic rap battles. Yeah, I think they could do something with this movie. They could have Cassandra Nova versus Charles, perhaps. Yes, so or Cassandra No Web, as one might call it. That was one thing I was kind of thinking, are they going to make a joke about how badly the Madam Web movie did, and ultimately not. I guess it's possible it's on the cutting room floor. Oh, I guess this was shot so far back that they couldn't have known for sure if it was going to do anyway. But yes, Peter got him the car salesman job, and he's still like super supportive. Like Deadpool, Wade just fucked up on the job, and Peter's not like, dude, you're making me look bad. I recommended, I vouched for you, and now he's just like, it's cool. We're gonna get through this together, buddy. Let's see. Yeah. So there's the surprise party, and Wade is like, oh, you're lucky that this is, 6 years ago you'd all been dead. Fuck. That's such a fucked up thing to say. That is such, like, he's surrounded by these people who love him, and the first thing he says when he finds out they did a surprise party is like, you're lucky I wasn't armed, god damn. Would have had to clean the blood off all these floorboards. Al would never find the cure for blindness down there. But yeah, and that is, a poke at the fact that, yeah, I guess maybe that is a bit of Disney influence. Because, 6 years ago, obviously referencing the fact that was when Deadpool 2 came out, and he was still a very violent, person there. In this one, the violence... I mean, he is violent, and he is sometimes violent against people he really shouldn't be. Like, the TVA agents are doing their job, They're not, like, kicking... Like, if they kicked Dogpool, we'd all be like, okay, fuck these guys. But they're just doing their... Or, wait, shit. I guess they know that Paradox is corrupt, so... Anyway, he fucks up Wolverine, So, it's not only that he does... he doesn't only fight bad people. Yeah, some as usual, some really great stuff between Al and Deadpool. I don't really have anything to add. I'd just be quoting their lines, and if I quote every single funny fucking line in this movie, we'd be here all day. Let's see. Oh, right. Yeah, I like that Buck, isn't allowed. No, Buck, don't say anything, because Deadpool 2 is fucking up. Which honestly, the first time I watched that movie, I thought, oh, funny joke. They're making fun of, like, sometimes a line is given to someone who really can't deliver a line well. Apparently, they thought that this guy would be able to deliver it well, and then when they were shooting it, he was doing terrible, and so they made that the joke that Deadpool specifically says, wow, we gotta stop giving you lines, Let's see, and the bits about Coke. I appreciate that they, in the trailer it actually looked like they gave every single line their way, but there was like 1 or 2 euphemisms for Coke that are in the movie that are not in any of the trailers that are out when I record this, at least. You know what? Thinking about it, I guess I haven't checked for a new trailer in a day or two. Anyway, there was a trailer that had a bunch of lines about Coke, and I really do appreciate, they fit in like specific Disney, do you want to build a snowman? Wonderful. And like if someone goes up to them like, how can you say that? And it's like, what? It's a Disney movie. Disney's, that is one thing I will say. I really feel bad for every parent when, during the time when every kid couldn't stop singing Let It Go. Let's see, right, and apparently, according to the interview, like, Feige didn't actually say no jokes about Coke. No Coke joke. What he said was, I think they were maybe a little tired after Deadpool 2, but yeah, they turned it into a joke, and apparently Feige's a good sport about it. He's not like, I told them not, I suppose I don't think I've actually ever seen Feige, like, be, seemingly upset about something that someone, like, he was also, he didn't mind them turning him into a robot in She-Hulk. Let's see, yeah, we have the thing about, oh, is Vanessa dating, Vanessa doesn't bring it up, but Wade does, which is a very accurate kind of, she doesn't want to rub his face in it, but he can't stop thinking about, he wants to get back together with her, so he brings it up, and she answers honestly, Dermot, who I thought was going to come up again later, which is why I spelt it. I actually bothered to write out his name, but yeah, she says, he hasn't gotten me shot yet, which, yeah, I appreciate that there's some consequence to that, because that was one thing I did not love about Deadpool 2. We spend the entire movie about, him grieving Vanessa, and then at the end, it's like, oh, no, she's just back. I appreciate that they do have an in-universe explanation, but I don't think that... I'm really not a fan of stories dealing with grief, bringing back the character that was grieved. Unless you're doing it as like, be careful what you wish for, they're a fucked up zombie ghost kind of thing. Other than that, do not bring them back. It completely undercuts I love media that deals with grief in an honest, vulnerable way. I hate when they undercut it like that. But yeah, of course she ended up, yeah, there's multiple really good reasons for her to leave him, and I really appreciate, that was again, I don't know if it's exclusively Disney. It is possible that the writers, because this does share some of the writers from the first two, but after the first two movies, I really, I hate the fact that in the first movie, he just abandons her. Like, if you want to break up with her, break up with her. Don't just leave like that. She spends so much of the movie thinking he fucking died. That's so horrible. Like, yeah, I get, oh, he's worried about what she'll think of the face. Yeah, well, suck it up. Go up to her, tell her the truth. If she, if she tells you to get the fuck away from her, then that's, it sucks. Rejection sucks. But if you don't want to be rejected, don't try to start a relationship. Certainly don't enter a relationship. That's, yeah, plain and simple. Let's see. So yeah, I really appreciate that this time she gets to be the one to end the relationship, and she does it in the more mature way, which, a lot of the time women are just better at handling things like that. There's, I personally know young men who've done, they were like, oh, I don't really, I don't think things are working out with my girlfriend, and they'll just be a huge asshole and basically try to bait her into ending it, instead of just coming out and saying, I don't think it's working anymore, maybe we should break up. It sucks, but that's something you agree to when you enter a relationship with someone. If you think that you should end the relationship, you talk to them about it. Obviously, don't, if you are in a situation where you're worried that the person you're in a relationship with is going to hurt, themselves or someone else, obviously then, you need to approach it in a different way. But that's not what is the case in these movies, and that was also not the case with the person I knew. Let's see. Yeah, I like the bit about, Buck, are you improvising? You know not to do that, because, it was... The movie was... Let's see if I can get the details right. The movie was being filmed during the writer's strike, because they already had the finished script, which meant that in order to not be scabs, strikebreakers, they would have to not improv, which... I'm sure it was very hard for Ryan Reynolds. I believe he did write some of the screenplay during the writing process, but he wasn't allowed. I'm just going to make sure. I doubt it is something important, but just going to make absolutely sure it was... oh, yeah, sure. Right. Yes. The... Yeah, Ryan Reynolds improv'd on the first two. I didn't really feel like this movie was missing something from him not improvising. Let's see, fuck did I write? Oh, right, yeah. So the TVA agents show up, and he assumes they're strippers. This is not Pretty Woman, so we are gonna kiss, and, oh... pegging, you know, it's not new for me, but it is for Disney. Okay, so we gotta, you know, do this gently and try not to make too much of a mess, and, you know, let's make eye contact. I can't see your eyes, but I can kind of sense them, so we're gonna have eye contact. Ooh, you're mad at me, let's use that. You know, just a lot of great stuff. Again, like, the trailer made it seem like, oh, he says one line about pegging and then they take him away, ha ha ho ho hee hee. No, there's a monologue. You know, he goes on for a little while about the pegging. That was great. That was yeah. Like, I think the movie does a really great job of immediately making it clear, you know, no, we're not treating in the movie as if it's, you know, there's, you know, we're not going to bring that Wolverine back to life, but we're also not going to act like that movie is above mockery, because it's Deadpool. Nothing is above mockery. Let's see. Yeah, you know, that's one thing it sets up, and another is, you know, from right away. And another is, no, Disney did not make this, you know, an inoffensive. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, and I do appreciate that they address, no, the TVA didn't grab him because of the events of Deadpool 2, which I appreciate as a misdirect, because that line was not in the trailers, and we all assumed, oh, the TVA are gonna, you know, they're gonna they're gonna intend to prune him because of the time travel shenanigans at the very end of Deadpool 2, but, you know, there's gonna be some deal made, or maybe he just escapes pruning. Let's see, and yeah, I gotta say, Thor crying over Deadpool on the screen, and Paradox is like, oh, fuck, get that off the screen. And, you know, later in the movie, when they're, you know, Wolverine and Deadpool are confronting Paradox, and Deadpool's like, why is Thor crying? You know, that was quite funny. And also just like, because, yeah, you know, they can see future, the old timeline business, as was explained very well in Loki. Yeah, what if Deadpool saw something that's going to happen later, and you really don't want to fuck it up by him knowing too many details about it? Yeah, that is legitimately funny, because it's you know, Loki sees his entire life in the pilot of the first episode of the first season of Loki, and, you know, he's like, I can't believe this is what happens, you know, and then Deadpool sees it and he's like, why is Thor crying? What happened? Which, you know, and there's a part where he, like, wakes up, he's like, Thor! You know, that was, yeah, very, very funny. And let's see. You know, Deadpool is pansexual, so there might be some sexual attraction. I don't think, like, I'm straight. I don't hate the idea of being, you know, just like, just feeling his biceps with his consent, obviously. But, like, Chris Hemsworth, yeah, like, I'm not sexually attracted, but dude's got charisma. Let's see, and yeah, I love the bit with, like, suck it, Fox. You know, you're getting me a costume. And yeah, lots of butt slapping in the montage of, like, which is a great, like, because, you know, it's basically taking, you know, it's very reminiscent of the Schumacher, R.I.P. Well, in some ways he was kind of an asshole, but some of his movies are underrated. Have not watched his Batman movies in a very long time. I do feel like I could respect Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin is a movie, and I might even be able to sit through the entire thing. Probably not. But yeah, you know, not everything that he directed. Like, I maintain Phone Booth is quite effective. But yeah, you know, it was very reminiscent of the Schumacher Batman movies with the suiting up bit, and yeah, you know, it's Deadpool, so they push it just a little bit further with all the butt slapping. You know, those were already fairly, you know, they certainly did focus on certain parts of anatomy. And then we have a bit which... So, what I'm about to say is not really gonna make sense to everyone watching. But basically... Or maybe it will. Anyway, when... there's a country-specific joke. They basically took the bit from the Steve Rogers notepad from Winter Soldier, and went further. So yeah, I'm Danish. I watched this movie in Denmark. So what Deadpool says is that he wants he wants to work the amount of days and hours that, and there's maybe something about healthcare that we do here in Denmark, which there's been worse things said about Denmark. I don't know if they were like, we gotta not offend the Danes. I don't know what they think we're gonna do. I guess our prime minister might say that something the American president said was absurd, but only when it was. But yeah, that was, didn't need the ego stroke, but I'll take it. I do wonder if anyone who watched this movie and isn't in Denmark, please let me know what your country got, or if they didn't do one that was quite that specific, but yeah, I'd be very curious to hear. I'm guessing some of them are going to be talked about on YouTube, here on YouTube. But that was very clever because, I don't know if they filmed the physical part for each, but certainly, he's got the mask on, so they can just ADR in the country-specific line. Yeah, so we get some new TVA rules about anchor beings, and it is legitimately fun. He's like, oh, I'm an anchor being, and Paradox fucking loses it. He's like, oh my god, oh, I'm gonna need a moment here. Can you imagine if you were the anchor being? Oh my fucking Christ, I would die. I would literally, like, goddamn, prune me now. Fuck, that was pretty funny. It's like, dude, he's right in front of you. Just don't. Oh my, fuck me, that was harsh. Let's see, and yeah, Wolverine was the anchor being, and doesn't really make sense if because like Logan the movie was set in, I want to say 2029, and this movie isn't. So yeah, I don't quite know how that's supposed. It isn't, right? Because, well, it's, although I guess at this point in the MCU, because we skipped ahead 5 years. Wait a second, maybe it is, because in reality it's 2024, as far as you know, and 5 years because of the blip. Maybe it is actually, and this is taking place not very long after his death, because there was still a skeleton. If enough time passes, there would be nothing left except the adamantium parts. Let's see, and we have the thing about, pruning, and they say, oh, technically the TVA aren't supposed to do that anymore. And we're told, in 72 hours, your universe will die. And, you can finally matter. That's all you ever wanted, which I really appreciate, because that is, in those first two movies, he was insecure about, he kept saying, I'm not a hero, and he kept saying, family is an F word in movies 1 and 2 respectively. Him wanting to matter, being all he ever really wanted, it is consistent with his characterization in the first two. So, and that is the thing, with the multiverse, anyone can matter, and I really appreciate he rejects that, because that is, it's a fairly common criticism of the multiverse concept. You know, does anything matter if you can always just pluck a variant out of some other multiverse? But, well, what if what if a variant says this isn't right? You know, I'm not, it could be argued that it's maybe lampshading more than properly dealing with the criticism. And then we have the, let's see. Right, yes, then we're back to him, at the start, and yeah, he stabs two people. Well, let's see. He stabs one guy in the crotch. I guess the other guy got stabbed in the ass, maybe more. And he's like trying to pull out, but it just keeps staying in it. Which again, like, it's got the Deadpool offensive, funny humor, but like someone being stabbed and like the blade staying in, that feels very true to various Wolverine appearances in the comics. And the thing of, how dare you defile his corpse? He's the one good thing that came out of Canada, which is funny because while Wade Wilson and, Deadpool, they're not Canadian in the movies or the comics, Ryan Reynolds is, so it's the actor saying, oh, fuck you. And obviously they had to, and it's one of those things where, I mean, I guess by now, is it an old joke, but yeah, keep my country's name out your fucking mouth. I'm going to. He sure does by the end of that scene. Let's see, and yeah, absolutely loved Deadpool multiverse hopping, finding, he finds the Wolverine that's, comic accurate height, and it is basically, like staring the fans square in the eyes saying, was this what you wanted? Are you fucking sure? Do you really want him to be short like that, Let's see, and he finds a comic accurate Days of Future Past fucking Wolverine. I love it. Had very few issues with Days of Future Past, but yeah, you watch that movie and it's like, why has he got two fucking hands? Did you miss something? Because it's such a cool image from their design, from the comic. The fact that he lost a fucking hand, like, that's so metal, and yeah, to actually see that, and you've got one that's up, like crucified on an X. You've got the what's his name? Did I seriously not write down? Yeah, you've got the Henry Cavill one. You've got Old Man Logan, comic accurate, which again, I love Logan, I do, and it's clearly not meant to be a, direct adaptation, but yeah, it is super cool to see him look exactly like comic accurate. And yeah, Old Man Logan 100% would just blast with a shotgun at Deadpool like that, And we've got the John Byrne one, and he's fighting the Hulk, which just great. And you have the, I am Marvel Jesus, you dull creature, or something like that, the Loki line. And yeah, as we all knew, Henry Cavill looks fucking amazing as Wolverine. Let's see. Yeah, and then we have the... Yeah, and Patch was also very cool to see. And we get to the bar, and, he just completely empties the bottle in one swig, which, again, 100% that feels like... Or, yeah, that is certain versions, not every single version of, comic Wolverine. Yeah, he's got the right costume, and... Yeah, the thing about, he can do musicals. Yeah, I gotta mention, I gotta say, the moment they said, let's see, I think they said, he let down the X-Men, and, Wolverine is like, oh, it's so much worse. Again, love Logan. I do love that they subverted the following. But one thing we were all, everyone who knew about the comic, in Logan, they keep talking about, oh, Logan, what have you done, and all this stuff, and it's like, oh, are they fucking going there? Are they actually? And then it's subverted. It turns out no, it was Xavier who killed the X-Men, because of a psychic thing. And then in the yeah, I was wondering, since they the Deadpool movie's known for fixing stuff, and this one does fix stuff from. Again, just read the IMDb trivia. They beat me to it. Yeah. So the shit. Where was I? Yes, I was wondering if this one was going to have what this Wolverine did, because it's one of my favorite. I love Mysterio in general, but I think we can all agree one of the most epic fucking things that Mysterio ever did was trick Wolverine into thinking that he's fighting villains to save the X-Men, only to then, Wolverine realizes, no, he killed the fucking X-Men. That's, yeah. Ultimately, they didn't go there. I suppose we're probably not going to get that with Disney, unless they really ease off on, and really start taking more risks. But I would love to see that story in live action or animation or something, because it is just such, yeah, it's basically Wolverine's worst nightmare come to life. And, the comics have a lot of stories that are in part about torturing him. And we get to see him make it through, and that's, very inspiring. Let's see. Yeah, I like the thing. What are you, the internet? He's right behind me, isn't he? Yeah, I like the bit with, him, her, them, as it's, yeah, that's, yeah. And I like, and Deadpool saying, I'm such a fucking Karen, which, yeah, that is very much. And, yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine get pruned. And yeah, fantastic fight between Deadpool and Wolverine. I love them fighting so dirty. I love not holding back. And that's also, the fact that both of them are invulnerable, and both of them know that. They're not necessarily trying to 100% kill the other. They're trying. Certainly, Deadpool wants Wolverine alive. I don't think Wolverine is trying to kill Deadpool. He just wants him miserable. He wants him in pain. In part, Deadpool is now receiving the full brunt of all his frustration. But also, yeah, he's really fucking things up for him. And yeah, the Mad Max thing, and this seems like IP theft, and that's not really what we're all about. Which was also a funny thing, because, Disney tends to just use their own IP. They don't tend to infringe on other, Disney has a bit of a history of being, super protective of their own IP, so it would be really fucked up if they intentionally infringed on someone else's. So, yeah, having this, because, we've seen The Void before. It did not look this Mad Maxy on Loki. See. Yeah, I love the Western vibe to the, some of the fight between them. And, yeah, just seeing Wolverine fight like he does in the comics, the Fox films was great. And, yeah, the thing about, no, we don't do coke, at least not on camera. They sure are driving angry. And, let's see. Yeah, the thing about, I got this. It's like, oh, it's Steve Rogers, and then, no, it's not Steve Rogers, it's Johnny Storm, and he is promptly humiliated, which, it's one of those things, yeah, it's a fairly universal reaction to those Fantastic Four movies, period, that they're pretty terrible. I do believe MCU can do it, so this was, yeah. But yeah, I seriously respect Chris Evans for being willing to, I'm sure he's not the biggest, the most proud of those two films. So for him, and yeah, they're like, oh, we want to do a Deadpool movie, because like he actually tweeted in support of the first one. He was like, congratulations, this is great, maximum effort, just, which is it's such a nice thing to do, because back then that wasn't Disney, that was the competitor, like he could easily have been like, oh goddamn, he might not have tweeted, but he could have been like, fuck, they're gonna take so many people, that was the first Deadpool came out the same year as Civil War, and Doctor Strange, but, and Civil War, Steve Rogers is pretty much the protagonist of that movie, and the, ensemble cast, sure, but it's very much about him and his conflict. And so, yeah, for him to support, he's a really nice guy, and he's like, oh, I have to wonder if they were like, oh, you want to do a Deadpool movie? And he'd be like, I don't, how is this going to work with Steve Rogers? But sure, sign me up. And then he's like, oh, by the way, you're playing Johnny Storm, But yeah, he's got a sense of humor. I like the joke about, we had to kill him off. Do you know how bad, he drains the budget like nothing. Let's see, and right, yeah, we have Sabretooth versus Wolverine, which, it's one of those things. In the trailer, it seems like, oh, there's going to be a big fight. There has just been a really great fight between Deadpool and Wolverine, so it doesn't bother me too much that there isn't. And also, right after they do the thing of, well, Wolverine, he's easy to take out if he's got a big magnet. Magneto was also tossing him around those first two movies, especially the first movie. In the second one, he could have if he wanted to. And the third one, he waits way too fucking long to do it. But let's see, yes, yes, so we don't get a fight between Sabretooth and Wolverine, so it's expectation subversion. But yeah, yeah, I thought it was quite fun. And yeah, we find out there's a resistance movement in the Void fighting against Alioth, which is a cool concept and works with Loki. It's not like we saw every inch of the Void. I'm sure there's others than just Loki's out there. And let's see. Fuck, did I write? Okay, something about Juggernaut. I guess the... right, no, yeah, I think, Juggernaut's helmet becomes important later on, and I believe it's this thing of, like, if he doesn't wear the helmet and he, like, smashes into, a wall or something, it's gonna fucking break his face, he's able to run through walls, but his physical body without the armor is not invulnerable. I think that's how it's supposed to be, which explains why she didn't melt down his helmet, even though she did with Magneto's. And that's how they're able to put the helmet on her at the end. Let's see. Yeah, and we get the joke about, they wanted to do the thing of like, oh, is that Charles Xavier? Although, the trailers did give away that it was going to be Cassandra Nova. But yeah, bold person, driving up in a, in a wheelchair, and then, she just gets, she the character, not they the actress, the actor. Shit. Sorry, I seriously do want to absolutely respect Emma Corrin's choice to go by they them. But yeah, and then we have some jokes about wokeness, and I really appreciate, they both make fun of woke stuff, but also anti-woke. That was, yeah, I quite appreciate that. I really don't have a problem with jokes at the expense of wokeness. I just think it's like, do we really need a million jokes that just only target wokeness? Like, are we seriously gonna pretend like the anti-woke crowd are not the goofiest motherfuckers in history? Because, like, they are. Nobody forced them to be. They chose that, and they keep choosing that, and we gotta keep mocking them until they grow the fuck up. But yeah, we get the entire, everything about Cassandra Nova, Charles Xavier's twin, the strangling in the womb thing, and, yeah, like they didn't have every single detail. I feel like the Nando V movies point out there's also some like Shi'ar technology involved, but yeah, they explain enough. And at first I thought, oh, they're being comic accurate, that's neat, but they actually also tie it into the there's that thing about if Charles had known her, he would have loved her as he loved all mutants, which was a great, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, and yeah, Deadpool makes Johnny Storm look really bad, and she skins him, saying ketchup, and yeah, it was a great. And in the post-credit scene, we find out no, he said that shit. He's just not, and he even said, "You can quote me on that." That was a great, yeah. I can't. I need to just express my fondness of the Joe. I'm Marvel Jesus, MJ if you're nasty. That is just such fantastic joke, because at the risk of over-explaining, I know some people think jokes aren't funny if you explain them. I disagree, so I'm just briefly yeah. MJ, when people say that, they're usually referring to Michael Jackson, and it was specifically Janet Jackson who said, Miss Jackson, if ya nasty, to turn around, and for Deadpool to specifically say, no, please, call me MJ, think of me as Michael Jackson, when he's the fucking hero of the movie, and we're supposed to be like, yeah, you do that thing you want to do, you go and do exactly, even if everybody tells you it's wrong, I want you to do exactly the thing that you have a burning desire towards. And then he's like, Michael Jackson is like, oh fuck, just so wonderful. Yeah, I love the thing of Cassandra. Did I hit a nerve? Just fantastic. And the thing with like, he's gonna do Music Man without any warm up. Just yeah. Yeah, and like the fact, I really appreciate, I love when villains have just enough depth to them, because yeah, like Cassandra is like, I never had a Charles, and we do also get, that's why Cassandra is so evil, never learned restraint. Yeah, and we get this thing of like, never didn't get a proper temper, and we're told that Cassandra was pruned before she could walk, which again, brings us back to, makes us think about Sylvie. This thing of like, yeah, they go after children sometimes, before she could walk, and she spent her entire life there, and yeah, you have this thing of like, what is she? Yeah, it's not like she can. Yeah, of course she's evil. She does say that she could leave if she wanted to. She just doesn't want to. Yeah, because she says she killed a close-up magician or something like that, and we see the sling ring, so it was a camartage. Well, I suppose not necessarily camartage, but it was one of the sorcerers trained by. Yeah, some of them train at camartage. Do they all train? Anyway, is it possible that it's the one we met on She-Hulk? Because he's sure, like, you could see how he might end up pruned. As long as they don't touch Madison with, what was it, 2 N's and a Y, but it's not where you think. I'm serious, Disney. You do not. We gotta see that character again, and she better not be like, because I'm worried that she would not find the Void to be both scary and also kind of fun. Although there is a lot of drama there. She's just not about drama. And let's see. Yeah, and we see Vanessa breaking up with Wade. And again, I do appreciate how much they really humanize her. Again, I think they could have done better in the first. They do a lot, but here it's basically pitch perfect. Like she just wants him to be happy and be his best self. You know, I hope some of the alphas watch this movie and try to actually appreciate, no, that really is like a lot of women. Yeah, I think the majority, they just want, their partner to make an effort. They want for, yeah, they don't like seeing their partner miserable. And if they think that ultimately it's best to end a relationship, they will, but they're not like going out of their way to hurt us, hurt their partner, including sometimes men, which, like, I've dealt with, men and women my whole life. By far, when the vast majority of the times that a person has gone out of their way to fuck me over and just gotta real quick make sure. Fuck, now I feel like Hugh Jackman on the Jimmy Kimmel. Okay, it was that. Yeah. When Hugh and Ryan Reynolds were guest hosting. Anyway, the vast majority of the people who've intentionally gone out of the way to upset me have been men. Straight, cis men, by far. The most of the time when I've, in some way interacted with a woman, that, and there was some kind of, if I had been upset by someone, the woman would try to comfort me, and like several times a woman has accidentally said something that, she didn't know would upset me, and when she realized it upset me, she immediately apologized and tried to make it better. I have never experienced not someone my own age. Sometimes people older than me, and some, I do want to make clear, sometimes I make broad statements. None of this is about like my family or my coworkers or anything like that. I don't know that many of them are watching, but if someone, absolutely not talking about them. But yeah, no one, when I was in school, there was not a single time where a guy, like the vast majority of the times where they upset me, they were going out of their way to. There wasn't a single time where they, I'm not saying that it never happened that they did it by accident, but they never then went, oh, I'm sorry, let me make it up. Like, there was a time or two where they did something to upset me, and then they got called out by like a teacher or something, and they pretended, oh, I didn't even know I was doing that. I wasn't trying to steal that toy that I knew you really like. I was like, we were like 8 or 9 at the time, just to be clear. No, there was, oh, I didn't steal it. Look, it was right here next to my backpack, even though you literally, you're sitting, you saw me take it back out of my fucking backpack. God damn, what a little piece of shit. And women are just better. I don't know what to tell you. I acknowledge that some of it is like socialization, and, maybe if we at some point reach true equality, maybe there will be some women who are just completely, or a higher percentage. Right now it's a fairly low percentage. I'm not saying that'll never be the case. I'm saying we're still far out from true equality. Yeah, once we get there and there's like more, women who yeah, I'll at that point I will start saying, let's, men and women can be really terrible. But yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Cassandra inside Wade's mind making Vanessa say, "You'll never fucking matter." Finally they got exactly right. how to do psychic, like Legion, the TV show, also manages to just hit it exactly right. But other than that, you got to go to the comics, and I feel like there's maybe some episodes of the animated, yeah, some of the animated X-Men, you know, the 92 to 97 show and X-Men 97. But the Fox X-Men movies just didn't, they never quite got there. You know, I really, yeah, love to see it. My boy's wicked strong. That's quite good. Because that, like, I mean, that is from, I feel like that's, you know, in the original is my boy's wicked smart. When he parks the car in Harvard Yard. I know, it's terrible, and it's like, I know, you know, some people are going to be like, is he doing that on purpose? Like, maybe a little bit. But yeah, yes. So what was the, yeah, that's, I can't believe I'm blanking on the name of that movie. Goddamn. Okay, I'm gonna move on. But yeah, fairly confident that's that movie where, you know, the guy who went on to play Jason Bourne is wicked smart, and it's Ben Affleck saying that line, and later they talk about the Ben Affleck Daredevil, so I figure that's, you know, planting the seed. Because this is before we see Elektra in the movie. You know, we had heard rumors, but yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I like the bit where, you know, Wolverine is the one who talks and not Deadpool, and he's like, well, do you agree? And, you know, I thought I was supposed to talk. Nod. Didn't you hear Will Smith singing? Rapping. Let's see. And, yeah, Dogpool, just love Dogpool. And yeah, Nice Pool shows up, Van Milder, and, you know, we get that thing about, you know, I don't think you're supposed to, you know, there's, you know, she just had a baby, but you can't even tell, you know, and Wade is like, yeah, our Deadpool is like, I don't think you're supposed to say that, and Nice Pool is like, it's okay, I identify as a feminist, which I love. That's such a perfect, and again, you're gonna find a lot of progressives laughing. We're gonna laugh. A lot of us are laughing our asses off at that joke, because that is such fucking bullshit. You don't get to say, I'm a feminist, and then say something that's really misogynistic, you know? No, it doesn't work. It's not a free pass, you know? So I love it, because that's not a joke at the expense of wokeness. That's a joke at the expense of people who use wokeness as a shield to get away with being assholes, you know? So I really appreciate that. And that, you know, oh, this is the nice Deadpool. Yeah, he's still a raging misogynist. You know, yeah, you don't fucking say that, you know. And let's see. Be careful around Dogpool. She's 90% G-spot, and she is not shy about showing. I appreciate that it's been a while. 20 years, maybe. I don't think I need to see more of Ryan Reynolds starring in comedy movies with really horny dogs. It's not necessary. I mean, that has to be a direct reference, right? They even say Van Milder. Let's see. And yeah, the thing, you know, why aren't you wearing a mask? And he's just like, come on, guys. Which, I mean, yeah, the only reason that Deadpool wears a mask is because his Ryan Reynolds face got all cancered up, you know, that he didn't always wear a mask. He did sometimes wear ridiculous sunglasses. And the thing about, you know, oh, this is the chlamydia of cars was also quite funny. And the talk about the costume, and then the pew pew, you know, which I was expecting them to go a little bit, not more overt, because that's like, I mean, he even does the pose, you know, obviously it's Spider-Man reference, but just like, I don't know, some line about, you know, do you think I could meet Tom Holland? Oh, is he still doing this? Or something like that. Especially because the pew pew bit was in the trailer. one of the trailers. And yeah, legitimately, I really appreciate that this movie does still have a heart. Like, I believe that every MCU movie is trying to. I don't think all of them quite get there. But yeah, like the first two Deadpool movies, this absolutely has a heart. There's an emotional core, undeniably. Maybe it doesn't work for everyone, but you cannot claim that the movie doesn't care about making you feel, But the thing about, I know it's only 9 people, but this picture is my entire world. I don't know how to save them, but you do. And yeah, the thing about, it was an educated wish. Did you just fucking say an educated wish? One more word. Gubernatorial. That was really funny. And that was like, I feel like that was probably a reference, in Deadpool 2, as he's dying, he says, I'd like to say a few words, and then he says, like, normally when you hear someone say that in a movie or TV show or something, they're gonna say something really meaningful, but he literally means say a few words, and he just says words that he, like, thinks are neat sounding or something. That was funny, but, the entire death bit just goes on for too long, and I really appreciate, this is a callback, but they don't try to just milk it for forever. Let's see. And yeah, the thing about, you couldn't even be an X-Man, they'll take anyone. Which I feel like is probably, one of the writers of this movie watched past, like, X-Men 1, if we're being honest. Like, honestly, there's probably at least 1 or 2 in X-Men 1 of, like, really? Is that a team member? And the thing about, I've never met anyone as fucking annoying as you, and I've been alive for 200 years, which is also great, like, because, yeah, in X-Men Origins Wolverine, that fucking movie, we learn that, I forget exactly the year, but it's 18-something, so, yeah, it's, he's been alive for around 200 years. And I really appreciate, that this was also something that I wasn't sure was going to happen in a Disney Marvel movie, but both Deadpool and Wolverine say some extremely hurtful things to each other because that is what the scene calls for. We're at the point of the movie where, like, the heroes are at their lowest end. That doesn't always mean saying really cruel things to each other, but here it kind of, it's necessary because these are two very wounded, broken people, and they need to heal, and sometimes you can't heal until you've hit rock bottom. Let's see, as nice as it would be if if that was never the case. Yeah, more amazing fighting, and I love the music. Like, it's from Greece. I forget the name, but it just, yeah, pitch perfect choice there. And I love the camera, like, pulls out and goes to the, coexist. Yeah, that is a great, because, like, essentially, that the message there, and it's, the religious thing of, it has various different faiths represented, and the message there is, of course, all the religions can coexist, which, I think it's possible. I just don't think it, conservative Christians make that fucking difficult. But yeah, it is like a fucking biblical, the yeah, the level of hatred that Deadpool and Wolverine at this point feel toward each other is like epic proportions. And, at first it's like light, and then we see it's like it gets dark out, and then it starts to get light again. It's like, fuck me, they really are fighting for forever. And I don't think that they, it's one of those things, the moment you pull the camera away from a fight, it's like, should we really not see it? It's what we're here for, but we get so much fighting. They fight several times over the course of the movie, so yeah. Let's see, and yeah, really cool to see Elektra and Blade, Gambit, let's see, and yeah, you know, I am blanking on his name, so I'm just gonna find it real quick. So we have, oh, this is it. Channing Tatum, that's it. Yeah, you know, he really wanted to play Gambit, and, you know, I will say when I first heard that, I wasn't sure that he had it in him to portray the darkness of the character. I have since come around on that. But the one thing that I always felt like, you know, to be clear, I never for a second thought that he couldn't do the physicality, you know. Like, yeah, he started out as more like a dancer, but dancing and fighting choreography, like dancing and combat in real life are not quite the same, but dancing and, you know, fighting in a movie, you know, in both cases, you're not trying to hurt the other person, you know. So yeah, the one thing that I was always like, can he do it though? And that's not even shade on Channing Tatum. That's like just the accent is fucking difficult. I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to do the Gambit accent. And I really appreciate that they make a running joke. Like you know, Deadpool is like, I'm sorry, should we be giving his lines to someone else? I feel like the audience is missing important exposition here, you know. That I really appreciate that. And Channing Tatum's clearly a good sport to put up with all those jokes. And yeah, Wesley Snipes saying, you know, I don't like you, and Ryan Reynolds going like, you never did, which was a great, because yeah, there was animosity between them on the set of Blade Trinity, and apparently, like according to the IMDb trivia, which I do know sometimes is bullshit, apparently Ryan Reynolds called Wesley Snipes for this movie, and Snipes was like, okay, first time I hear from him in 20 years, I'm gonna answer the phone. I need, you know, what is he gonna say, you know, kind of thing. And yeah, I really appreciate, you know, I hate when people who don't need to be like in conflict are, because at the end of the day, like they're both, you know, they have somewhat different, you know, they're different people, sure, but at the end of the day, you know, they're both passionate about making a good fucking movie and an entertaining movie, you know. So it really is too bad that there was conflict back then, and I really hope that this means that there just isn't any anymore. Certainly, you know, they're sharing scenes, you know, that was one of the things. After a while, Wesley Snipes refused to show up when there was, you know, he would only do close-ups and everything else was body double, you know, and here he's clearly in frame with, you know, I mean, I guess unless that is not Ryan Reynolds, unless he's got a body double now, which would be a funny meta joke, although, you know, they don't reveal it in the movie, so I don't know if it lands, but no, they appear to be back on good terms, and I'm glad, because they're both so talented, you know. I'd like to see them both do, you know, I think if both of them come back and do a bigger, you know, I don't know if it's too much to do an entire, like, the two of them are the, you know, co-leads, but he could have a bigger role, you know, because he also would struggle to get along with Deadpool. But I guess, you know, Blade in the future is Mahershala Ali, which I'm not unhappy about. I love Mahershala Ali. I've always, you know, the moment I heard they were casting him for Blade, I was ecstatic. But I mean, I don't know. I guess they could do two different, because, you know, in the multiverse, there's characters that they're variants of each other that are played by different actors. Yeah, I love the bit about, you know, oh, I'm being screwed so hard. It's like Pinocchio's up my ass and lying, you know, just, yeah, that was great. And seeing Laura again was just fantastic. Really loved to see it. Yeah. Jennifer Garner swears in the movie, which I don't mind, but I know some of her fan base are not, don't love when she swears, and sometimes forget that there are movies where, you know, I mean, I feel like it's probably an F-bomb in that one blooper of, because there's like, you know, one of the bloopers of Alias, like they bleeped the bloop bit, but you know, right after, like, her co-star's like, you can't say, and then they bleep it when he says it on ABC, and I feel like that's probably fuck. Like, I'm actually not 100% sure if they could say shit back then on ABC, but I don't know. It just, the way that the co-star reacted, it felt like it was more than shit. She wasn't just talking shit. But yeah, I love the bit about, you know, it's there's, you know, oh, Daredevil died, and I think it's Deadpool's like, I'm sorry to hear that, and you know, Elektra's like, it's okay, bless his heart, you know, that was a great, because like, yeah, and that is also like, he really did fuck her over, and I acknowledge that he's talented, but he really treated her badly. And that was just, yeah. And it wasn't like, oh, but he made the lesser of two choices. No, the lesser of two evils. He was an asshole to her. So, yeah, that was a good little. And I don't mind that he didn't show up and that this was what they did instead. And let's see. Yeah, I loved when Wolverine tells the team that Wade was the one who got Johnny Storm killed. That was such a great, because like, oh, you know, you're gonna be a pain in my ass every second of the way. You're gonna get Johnny Storm killed for no good fucking reason. I'm gonna tell on you because I'm a tattletale. I'm a vindictive little piece of shit. That was very funny, you know, because yeah, like, I love the character. I love the character in the comics and other media. He can be kind of a petty little dick in just, yeah. He's not the most mature at all times, which is probably part of the reason why he appeals so much to 3 edgy 5 me teenage boys. And yes, that was when I first started reading the yeah, I was a teenager when I read the comics. Let's see. Yeah, I really appreciate, you know, Elektra just wants an ending, which, yeah, like, I mean, it's one thing, the characters that didn't, you know, no, she didn't even get a proper ending. She was in 2 movies, and that was it. You know, you know, her solo movie really opens the door for more movies that she appears in. And, you know, Blade just wants a legacy, because he did get an ending. You could absolutely accept the end of Blade Trinity as a proper ending for his character. But where's the legacy? And the thing with, you know, Gambit is like, I just kind of want a movie. Nobody even saw me. You know, I think I might have been born on the Void. And I also love how he's like so explicit, because I don't know that he would be quite that explicit in the comics, but this is a Deadpool movie where things get pushed, you know. He's sometimes crass and crude. And let's see. Yeah, we learn, you know, Wolverine didn't join the X-Men, and then, you know, he was too late when some humans came mutant hunting. And I do really appreciate, because in the Fox X-Men movies, and a lot of the comics, a lot of the best comics, the bigotry towards mutants is a major theme. And ultimately in this movie, we don't have that much of it, but I do think this mention hits really hard, you know, like, yeah, Wolverine failed to help the X-Men. Yeah, and I saw, might have been IMDb trivia, but I saw somewhere where someone was like, oh, you know, maybe, you know, because Magneto was like, what do you do when you wake up to that? You know, I feel a great swell of pity if any poor soul comes to that school looking for trouble. And yeah, like, if you think back to X2, if Wolverine hadn't been there, yeah, it wouldn't have gone down like that. Yeah, I do think there is a chance that the X-Men would fully have lost there, you know. So, you know, I don't know if that is supposed to be exactly what happened, but yeah. And yeah, I really appreciate the bit about, you know, I need to say it. You know, the other person is like, I think I can get, I think it might have been Laura, but yeah. And, you know, he says he was so shit-faced that he couldn't even, yeah. And wears the suit to remind himself so he'll never forget what he did. Let's see. And yeah, we have the thing about, you know, you always were the wrong guy till you weren't. And I wish they hadn't had the till you weren't part in the trailer. I don't blame them. And certainly I get wanting Laura to be in the trailer. And it's one of her best parts. But, you know, the moment that I heard it, like, I thought maybe it's just, maybe they put something in the trailer that is in the movie. That they did that for Deadpool 2. They've done it for MCU movies, other MCU movies. But at the end of the day, I felt like, oh, they're going to call back to that later. So now we know, you know, no, that's why he's fighting, because she said till you weren't. Let's see. Yeah, and Pyro calls Mr. Paradox, and they do that thing, you know. Is, you know, is James there? Yeah, he's here. Can he come to the phone? No. Why not? Because he's dead. You know, that was a great, yeah. Yeah, and the thing about, you know, oh, he got the, you know, they got the, I forget which character, but, you know, they got that from the Punisher. Which Punisher? There's been like 5. That was pretty funny. And let's see. Yeah, and the thing, you know, there'll only be one blade. You know, and Deadpool, like, he's like, am I gonna tell him? And fuck, I guess there might only be, because, you know, the Mahershala Ali movie, they've been struggling with it. Yeah, and the reveal that Wolverine was in the back of the car is quite good. Let's see. You know, it did look like, oh, he really isn't joining them for the final fight. And, you know, it's somewhat similar to Logan. It looks like he's not going to. And, yeah, really epic battles in the climax. And, you know, obviously they had to, some motherfuckers still trying to ice skate uphill. That was, yeah. Yeah, I will never tire of Blade using blades. You know, he throws the thing, spins around, catches it, and just, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, and Laura puts the shades on that she wore in Logan. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, love when Cassandra's inside Wolverine's mind. And the thing about, you know, I started killing, and I didn't stop. And not just the bad guys, but the women and the children. And then Natalie Portman falls in love with him somehow. And let's see. God fucking damn it. Okay, I just gotta make absolutely sure. Yeah, that was also not something I need to deal with right now. Let's see. Yeah, and you know, Wolverine talks about, you know, managed to turn the world against the X-Men, which, yeah, I really appreciate that. Yeah, because that is essentially, you know, one of the main conflicts for Wolverine is he's afraid of losing control. He's afraid of the result of that, and he's afraid of not being able to protect the people he cares about. You know, which leads to that wonderfully biting line, you know, in Low, you know, bad shit happens to people I care about, and Laura says, then I should be just fine, which just, oh, like, just, and I thought adamantium cut deep. But yeah, the you know, him actually, because of violence, leading to you know, him ruining the perception of mutants, or you know, or X-Men, you know, yeah, that is one of the worst nightmares for him. So I really appreciate, yeah. And they didn't feel the need to dwell on, you know, oh, he lost his love interest, because I think the Fox X-Men movies handled that well. I don't think we need to see it again. You know, he mentions Jean, but he doesn't talk about it, talk about her being the specific one. He's said about. Yeah, loved Cassandra trying to trick him, you know, being like, I can, you know, we can make this all about you can, what was it? You can be whoever you want in the void. Let's see. Yeah, great use, you know, the bit where Psylocke is, you know, trying to stop Laura was great. And you know, I got you. Yeah, you understand. No, I got you. You know, I tricked you. Because that is another thing, you know, Wolverine, under the right circumstances, can be extremely resilient mentally as well as physically. And we have the thing about, you know, Cassandra saying she's going to flick her beans. Yeah, okay. I really appreciate Pyro betraying Cassandra, because the first time I watched X3, I kept waiting because there's so many little bits where there's conflict between Pyro and Magneto, and like especially like near the end when it's like, oh, this is why the pawns go first, and you get a shot of Pyro and he's like, what the fuck is he doing? This guy that I've been following unquestionably this whole time. And the first time I was like, this is when there's going to be, you know, he's going to actually attack him. But no, it doesn't lead to anything. There's so much shit in that movie that doesn't lead to anything. God damn it. Yeah, really appreciate that they had him do that here. Let's see. And yeah, the thing about, you know, Charles would not let Cassandra die. He would give her a chance. And, you know, the thing about, he would love her like he loved all mutants. Yeah, and the portal opens, and yeah, Pyro with the hand, and then Paradox, and I love that. Yeah, and you know she doesn't wash those hands. Fuck me. Yeah, and she's gonna use the machine to destroy all worlds other than the void, which is this great thing of like, you know, everything has to be the way that I want it to be, even if other people are happy the way that it is right now, you know. Very evil idea. And yeah, you know, she's gonna, yeah, if she destroys every part of the multiverse, yeah, you know, Thanos level, you know, Thanos was gonna kill all life in the universe, she's gonna destroy the entire multiverse. Which I appreciate a certain chunk of the audience is like, if we don't have to sit through more multiverse movies. I don't think it's overplayed. I hope that they don't push it to the point where it does. But I do also appreciate someone in the movie does say, you know, please, no more multiverse. Let's give the extras a beat. And the... Oh, I didn't write on the... Wait, did I? Okay, here we go. Yeah, Dogpool is back. I love the disgust that Wolverine, like, he just, you know, like, if Wade was, like, rubbing his face in literal shit, Wolverine would not look more disgusted. Which, considering that some dogs eat shit, I suppose, by, you know, the transitive property, to some extent, you could, you know, Van Wilder, oh, I can do that too. The proposal. And Deadpool's like, do you think that's all I do? Like, am I a joke to you? What is the... No, that's not it. And yeah, the thing, you know, it's a lot of you. And let's see. Yeah, and we see, no, Van Wilder does not regenerate. And the thing with the human shield, like, you know, just holding him still, just, yeah. Yeah, I love that every Deadpool loves Dogpool. Like, don't shoot, Dogpool. And let's see. And we have the... yeah, you know, you have the thing, you know, Wolverine's like, am I ready to kill 100 of you. Yeah, let's fucking go. Oh, actually, I forget if he says that. Anyway, I like it when he says that. Yeah, and Wolverine pulls down the mask, and it's got the whited out eyes. It's perfect. Love the long take. You know, a lot of it shot from the side of Deadpool and Wolverine fighting all the other Deadpools. And then, you know, after all that, they just regenerate, which is pretty funny. And all Deadpools have a Peter. And, yeah. Although I suppose Freud would probably say that Ladypool has Peter Envy. And yeah, yeah, that's such a fucking outdated notion. Jesus Christ, Freud. Get your mind out of the gutter. It's not even a good place to be having sex anyway. But yeah, and Peter manages to save all of the, yeah. Just real quick, to be clear, yes, I realize Freud came up with that shit quite some, a number of decades ago. I still think it's, even at the time, he should have realized, no, that doesn't make any sense. But, male-oriented thinking. But yeah, not making any excuses for him. We learn, they have to, if they close the circuit, it will kill the one who does it, and then, they say, oh, but, if both of them do it, which, I don't know, I guess maybe it's a cop-out. I think it's one of those things where, like, I didn't really believe that they were going to kill either character, so I wasn't super surprised when both survived. And, let's see... Yeah, I like the various, once Deadpool, gets in there and closes the door, it's like, the needs of the many outfucks the ways of the few. And, he does the fake walking downstairs thing and then pops back up and all these just, yeah. And... yeah, we have the... I wouldn't have hated if someone verbally called it out, but I do think they are already making the joke, wow, that countdown sure did slow down near the end, buying them a lot of time. For a while it's like jumping a lot, and then it gets to like 3 or 4%, and then it's like slowly. Let's see, and... Paradox tries lying to... I'm afraid I forget her name, but she was great on Loki. I'm really glad to see her reprise the role. And yeah, she did indeed get a higher position. We saw that she did at the... I want to say it was at the end of season 2. I don't think it was at the end of season 1, but yeah. He has risen? Just, yeah. Fuck. And, let's see. Yeah, somehow the TVA is still corrupt. Nice going, Loki. You sure did solve everything. Nah, he solved a lot. And... let's see. Oh, yeah, the thing, you look great in that suit. And yeah, you have the thing about, bring home the Void characters. And we do see that Laura, at least, was brought back. And yeah, I feel like this is the MCU A/B testing. I would not rule out seeing Channing Tatum reprise the Gambit role. And maybe some of the others, if enough people really want the, let's see... And yeah, the thing about, his past is what made Wolverine a hero. And he does get to say bub. And the shawarma bit was great. And they do fit in a joke about, ugly, but now it's the dog and not Wade's face. And that is also, like, it would have been, like, we didn't need a third time of them talking about how ugly his face is. I laughed in the first two, but I think it would have been tired if they did it again. And yeah, back to the birthday party, and Wade and Vanessa talk. And yeah, so the mid-credits is behind the scenes of various, some of it's X-Men movies, but it's also some of the other, there was also some of Jennifer Garner. I think it was from Elektra. I'm not certain if it, yeah. And yeah, she's always just such, like, I'll never tire of seeing Jennifer Garner. Like, Jennifer Garner in a, when she's, like, smiling that wonderful smile. I'm not saying, she has a smile. I'm not one of the guys who say, why don't you smile more? But just, yeah, it's nice to see her happy. And, if hypothetically I was, in the same place as her in real life and she didn't look happy, I would not tell her, you should smile. I would either, if I thought she just wanted to be left alone, I'd leave her alone. And if not, I'd maybe try to say or do something that I thought might make her smile. And then if that didn't work, I would just accept that. Let's see. And yeah, post credits, we see, Deadpool's like, okay, I have been slandered. There's libel. Wait, no. Libel is when it's in print. But yeah, and he sees, Johnny Storm is saying it. He's like, okay, the camera is rolling. Okay, no, say it. Which is funny because, yeah, so, Deadpool has some control over how these movies go. And, yeah, like, it feels like he watched the entire movie and then he's like, what the fuck? You make me look like a complete asshole. I mean, once when I wasn't being an asshole. No, Johnny said that. I guess it was cut for time. Okay, I'm going to set the record straight, which was... And yeah, it's legitimately funny seeing Chris Evans, who's, like, known for being such a nice guy, saying all this stuff. I know, it's not the first time that one of his characters has said really fucked up shit, but we didn't think that he would say that in this movie, so it is quite funny. And he looks like he had a good time doing it. Like, that is the thing. He seems to enjoy playing just complete dirtbags sometimes. The first time I took notice of him as an actor at all was in Not Another Teen Movie, which overall I don't think is that good of a movie, though I appreciate there's some stuff that really works. But yeah, he's clearly having fun, and he's doing a great job. He's really good. That's the thing, like, Chris Evans, when he, like, smiles, he can do, like, this really warm, charismatic smile that he does as Steve Rogers, and then he can do this smug sneer that just, he just looks so obnoxious. And I really appreciate that he's willing to do both, because he's so much fun playing complete assholes. It's somewhat like, the guy, he's in the new Twisters movie. I'm going to find him real quick. Glenn Powell, also has that quality to him. So, yeah. Yeah, those were all of my notes. So, yeah. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what was your favorite part of this movie. Is there something that you thought they should have done or should have done different? Really interested to hear what you have to say. If you like this video, please thumbs up, subscribe, hit that little bell. There should be a link to my main channel page, one or more links to stuff like relevant playlists I suggested for you to watch on screen right about now. And yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it every week, but I'm going to try to go back to doing movie vlogs. Obviously, I had to do this one. There was no way I was missing the theatrical release of this fucking movie that I've been hoping for 20 goddamn years. I'll try to see if I can do, there's more cinema movies coming out in the coming weeks. I don't think I want to say the titles because I don't want to jinx it, but yes, I will try to see if I can do one per week, yeah, from now on, but I'm not making any promises. It will depend on, the physical soreness and pain. But the the treatments I'm getting are helping a lot. So maybe I will at least soon be able to get back to it. Anyway, yes, I try to put out a weekly video. Right now it is Ash vs. Evil Dead, which I'm almost done with. And yeah, I also really want to get back to doing, it probably won't be daily, but multiple times a week, an episode of a Marvel show that's either MCU adjacent or Fox X-Men adjacent. Yeah, I'm going to try to go back to that soon. Recently, the review and thoughts videos tend to come out very similar to this one. In other words, if more videos like this, you're in luck. You can check out my back catalogs, as well as catch me next week. I hope you enjoyed watching, as I enjoyed watching and recording. I'll catch you next time. Let's fucking go.